Hi, friend. Happy Wednesday. It is so good to see you. I love that everyone is already saying hi in the chat. It sounds like we're going to miss Jeff for part of this session, but it's good to see Kelly and Giacomo and James, our friends from Canada. If you haven't already, say hi. The chat is kind of where the magic happens. I mean, the magic happens here too, but the chat's kind of really where it's at. If you're new here, if you're shy, don't worry. We are a super friendly bunch that meets here every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern to get our afternoon jolt of caffeine, get some great learnings from amazing guests like David today, and also learn from each other because we all have wisdom to contribute. So, a big hi to Amy and Shelby and Islam and man, everyone's just joining on in. So invite a friend, pull up a chair, and get ready to take some action. Ask some good questions because I don't want to hog David all to myself. If you can believe it, which I know sounds absolutely crazy, next week is actually June. Which means we are coming up on halfway through the year. I know, wild that we are already almost halfway through 2023. And so when I was thinking about, okay, kind of like those mid-year check-ins on our goals, on what we were hoping to accomplish, maybe did we get that new leadership position that we were hoping for the year? Did we get those new clients on board that we were hoping for the year? Just kind of checking in. I thought, what could we do to kind of give us that jolt of energy, reignite that sort of fire under our butts, if you will? And I thought no further than David Brownlee. So hopefully you did your Google stalking on David before joining, but if not, I'll fill you in a little bit. But, Google stalk on your own time. We're getting right into the good stuff when David joins us. So David is a customer experience and communication and leadership expert. He has worked with tons of Fortune 500 companies and celebrity brand names such as Tony Robinson, Harley Davidson. I mean, just Tony Robbins, sorry. Got those two confused, but just a ton of really great people. And also has some LinkedIn learning courses. So you might recognize his face from the LinkedIn Learning Library. Just a really powerful resource when it comes to how we're really thinking about customers, how we're thinking about ourselves when it comes to managing relationships, not only with customers and clients, but also with one another. So I was excited for him to come on in and join us, and for me to ask some questions and also for you to ask some questions. So again, get those fingers ready in the chat box so that you can ask David your questions as well. I don't want to hog him all to myself, although I will resist that urge. So please help me from wherever you are in the world, welcoming David to our coffee chat.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
How are
Good to see
you?
you, Kim. Thanks for having me today.
Good to see you as well. I'm so excited you're joining us. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always so good to hear your smiling voice. You can hear the smile. Even if I'm backstage, like we're here online, I'm listening to the voice. It puts a smile on my face. And I'm sure if that's what you feel, pop it into the comment. Like when you pop into the coffee chats with Kim, you could just hear the smile, right? It's a good energy. It takes energy to get through today's environment. So I
Well,
appreciate that.
thank you. And I feel like energy, that's something that we all need. Talk about something that helps with leadership and sales, bringing the energy, bringing the smiles, and packing a punch. I mean, that's what you do, David. That's the name of the game.
That's the name of the game, right? That's what we got to do.
I love it. So I'm super curious for someone who is joining today who is like, yes, I love the content that David is posting. I love how he's helping, really guide people when it comes to leadership, when it comes to customer experience. I'm curious, what are some of your I don't know, secret tips or I mean, obviously years of experience because you have a ton of that. But for someone who's joining, who's like, I just want to get a little piece of whatever it is that David's having, what would be some like kind of easy go-to tips?
Yeah, I think it really starts with understanding our customers, right? Understanding your clients. Who are the people that are helping to put food on your table, right? That the people that allow you to pay your bills or maybe get a pay raise. Even the difficult customers, right? So we can send our kids to school, and it sounds very basic, right? But sometimes we need to connect our brains to that, like, hey, we need to be thankful for our customers, right? Because I think a lot of times when we come into the workplace, especially if they have an issue, it's hard to really appreciate our customers. And I think the reason that's so important, especially if you're a business leader or you're a business owner or even if you're a solopreneur, we really need to think about our customers in a very specific way. As being the lifeblood of our businesses, right? Of our livelihoods, right? Because I think so many times we just forget that. So when you think about the tips, and the strategies, I really have three things that our customers want from us. You want to know what those three things are? the three,
Yes,
the three
please.
ninja things, and just generally, I think we should think about this in communication with the people that we love and things as well. Number one is your customers want to feel heard. If you're taking notes, write this down, right? If you have no customer, you have no business. Very good, Andrew. I love all the chat, like all the interaction, right? Pretend like we're all in the room together. But they want to feel heard, don't they? Right? And I've got young kids. My kids will come up to me and they'll be like, "Daddy, daddy, 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 daddy." Daddy, 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 daddy. Yes. Nothing. Right. They just want to, they just want to feel heard, right? And your customers are the same thing. It's the same way, right? They want to be heard if they have an issue or, if your product or service solves a problem for them, right? They want you to hear them. That's the first thing. If they can feel heard, that's the first part. Number two is they want to feel understood. Isn't that true? Right? Like even when just in communicating, they want to feel understood. I had a problem a little while ago with my cell phone bill, and I called the 800 customer service. And it was just ridiculous, right? And I get robot person, hello, thank you for calling, whatever it was, and I said I had a problem with my bill, and they're just like robotic, right? And then they're just like account number, it like nobody's even listening to your story, right? Like you're telling them what's going on, and it's like, do you even understand what I'm saying? So I think that's very important for your customers to feel heard, understood. So heard, understood, and then the last thing is cared for, right? The third thing is cared for. Do you even care about your customers, right? Do they feel like you care about them, right? And solving their problem or taking care of them, right? Or are you just kind of just going through the motions, right? So I think in general, if you can remember those three things, now you can get some tips to deal with some maybe upset customers or different things. But I think that's the basic. That's where we got to start.
Well, I'm so glad that you brought up caring for your customer because I think a lesson that I learned the hard way in business was I associated caring with yes. So sort of yes,
Mm.
like, whatever you want, whatever. Yes, yes, yes. Um, and it was really hard for me to learn. I guess it's similar. I don't have kids, but I guess it's similar to having kids. I was sitting there letting them have ice cream for breakfast. Sure, just yes, yes. I was like a constant, sort of like yes circle. And
Yep.
I learned the hard way that there are sometimes actually not even for my benefit, but for the client or customer's benefit, that no is actually what they need to hear or actually something that does need to be communicated. But I took no as that was not being a caring action. It was kind of being like
Mhm.
rude or naughty to a customer. So I'm curious for anybody out there that may be struggling with this, like I was, how do you coach or tell people, that no is still a good thing, or it's not that you're not caring for someone?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's a really good point, right? Because, how many of us have heard that customer service myth? The customer is always right, right? The customer is always right. You got to wow your customer. You're like, how are you going to wow your customer every transaction? Well, I'm going to get you a pony this time, right? That's not even realistic, right? You want to actually build relationships with your customers, whether it's for 30 seconds, whether it's for a minute, whether it's for 10 minutes or 10 years, right? You got to build a relationship, because that's when people are going to say, oh, Kim is my go-to person, right? Or oh, I need XYZ company, you got to go to my company, right? When they take ownership, that's building that relationship, and that's way more powerful. And we could talk about that in a little bit as well. But saying no to customers, right? They're not always right. And sometimes no is good. Now, the only problem with the word no is it creates a wall, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
creates a wall between the two of us, right? Can I get more fries? No. Can I get a refund on the? No. It's our policy. And you're just like, oh man, will somebody say yes? Right. And using the kid analogy, like when you're little kids, I remember I was in cooking. My son was maybe like 2 years old or something. And he grabbed my laptop, jumped on the dining room table. He's got his sippy cup hanging there. So there's liquids involved. And he's got and he's hanging on the edge of the table. And I'm like, no, right? And that's where it starts. Won't someone just tell me yes? But there are some times when you can't give a refund, right? You can't give the client exactly what they want. So I came up with a ninja secret phrase. It's a ninja secret phrase. And I would love to share it with you and your audience. Okay. And
Yes.
if you're taking notes, you want to write this down, because not only does it work with your customers, it works with your spouse, it works with your partner, it works with your boss, with everybody. Okay. So instead of saying no, right, here's the line. I wish I could. What I can
Mm.
do is ... right? Whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? Can I get a refund? Oh, wow. I wish I could. What I can do is I can get you a discount, or I can get you a credit in your account, right? Give them some options, right? So you're doing two things. Number one, you're letting him know that, hey, I can't do this thing, but I care about you, right? That's the third thing we want. We want them to know that you care. So you got to really sell it, right? Like, I wish I could. But now you're changing their focus to what you can do, right? Instead of what you
Yeah.
can't do. You want to shift that focus so that they're thinking about something, hey, like an actual solution, right? And the more solutions you can offer, maybe two or three is better, right, than just one option. So that works. And don't take my word for it. Go try it, right? Go try it. Try it with your kids. Try it with your spouse. Try it with your partner. I wish I could. Gosh, but you got to sell it though, right? I wish I
Right.
could. Yeah, okay, here's what I can do, right? And then you shift the focus. But sometimes you just got to say no, right? Like, especially in today's customer service environment, especially if you're working, as a barista, say in a frontline situation, or a flight attendant. People are getting, violent. They're getting really abusive, and they're getting upset. And then you say no. That perfectly fine to say no in that interaction, right? And to be safe, and to make sure that anybody around you feels comfortable. So that's the extreme version of that.
Well, I think you're right. I think really sort of picking your words wisely, really phrasing the sentence. And I love this idea of giving people options, because I also think when people are in either stressful situations or situations that are really important, it's
Mhm.
sometimes nice to have an option. Sometimes when we're feeling stress, you feel that loss of control. So really
Yeah.
saying, to your point, I can't do XYZ, but here's one or two or three things, that I can
Yeah.
do, and sort of take your pick from a solution buffet, if you will.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think you nailed it, right? Because think of yourself as a customer, like when you're calling in somewhere or you've got an issue, you really have no control, right? Especially with the digital age, it's just like, go to our fact page and that's it. That's all you get, and if there is a phone number in there, you dial 0 to talk to somebody and they're like, sorry, you're having so much trouble, right? And then they just hang up.
Right.
Or if
You're
you
just
do
like,
get through to somebody, it's a horrible experience. Oh, well, that's our policy. So that's why I kind of go back to the basics. Like if you're a business owner, or a manager or somebody who's in charge of your customer experience, really think about what that customer journey is like. Because I don't think companies do that nearly enough. Even some of the bigger companies you think that would, you really need to put together like, okay, we're going to spend a bunch of money on marketing. So how do they come across our company? Usually it's online, right? And then they might go to a website or something, right? And then they go to your website, then they might call, and everybody's really excited about the marketing and the sales call, right? So now what happens when you get that customer? How do you treat that customer, right? So it's estimated that $43 billion a year with a B, some estimates are as high as 60 billion dollars a year are going out the back door of companies because of poor customer service, right? So think about your acquisition cost if you're a business owner to get a customer, right? Now you spend all that money on the front end. Now you've got this customer, you sell them a product or a service, right? One time, and they're like, this was awful, and they're out. Okay, now look at the other side of it. You treat them, they feel heard, understood, and cared for. On average, they will spend 10 times their original spend over the lifetime of that customer. Okay, which is pretty exciting, right? 10x, whatever that transaction is. Now, if you really take care of them, guess what? You build that relationship with them, whether it's through emails or, just treating them great, and now they're telling their friends and family, now you just got a free customer, right? And so it starts compounding, right? And now you're getting referrals coming in, right? And that person's so happy, they're coming back over and over and over again. So you get repeat customers, right? And I think, when you look, especially small businesses or, and they're just trying to pay rent, right? Small businesses are just trying to make payroll. Each of those transactions becomes so granular to them, but you've got to get that out of your mind, especially if you have something like a restaurant, right? I went to a sushi place I used to go to all the time. And this one time there was, I ordered some tuna, I love tuna rolls with a little, wasabi and soy sauce. Like that's my thing. And I go in there and it was just off. Like it came and it smelled bad. And, when fish is off, I mean, it, right? So I sent it back and I was very polite about it. This is a place that I liked. Next thing I know, the manager comes over and she's like, well, you're going to pay for that. And I'm like, okay, and she just really got upset, and I'm like, okay, I'll pay for it. Like I didn't say I wasn't going to pay for it, and then she came at the end and she said, oh, you don't have to pay for it, but just this time. I'm like, just this time? Understand, I'm never coming back. And I'm going to tell anybody that will listen to avoid this place like the plague. Right? And now you have things like Yelp and Google reviews, and you have an upset customer over one transaction. You're not thinking about that person and the business they could bring into for you. But also, if they go online, now hundreds, even thousands of people might not even give your business a chance. Think about that one for a second. Right? So it's so important. Yeah.
It's wild. And I feel like you're right. It's so important to really kind of distill back down to that formula, like really making them feel, seen, heard, cared for, appreciated. Because if you are a loyal customer, you want them to keep coming back over and over again. And I'm curious for those of us out there that might be thinking to themselves, okay, like I hear what David's saying, and I think I do a pretty good job of that. Like I think I make, whether it's clients or customers or even just colleagues, like I think I do a good job at making other humans around me feel, cared for or seen or heard. What are some, I guess, questions or maybe things we can ask ourselves or test ourselves with to kind of check in and say, well, are you as good as you think you are? Like what, what questions should we be asking?
That's a great question. I think in general, right? If just a quick way you can check in is this person, is this customer, is this client leaving happy? Right? Because I don't believe
Mhm.
that customer's always right, right? But I
Yep.
believe that whenever possible, customers should always leave happy, right? So that's just a quick way to check in, right? And I think that surveys are awesome if you do them the right way. So my favorite surveys are the one question surveys. I've heard if you had a customer service company, would you hire this person, right? Or on a scale from 1 to 5, where would you rate the service, right? Something that you can do quickly. Because sometimes I get great service and I want to help them out, and I'll go on the survey and it's like page 1 of 28. I don't know the people who have the time to do that, right? But it's not me, right? So I think you need to really, number one is ask yourself the question, is this customer happy? And then if you can look at that data, I think that's awesome, right? If you're a larger company, there's the NPS, right? Your Net Promoter Score. Would they recommend you to somebody else, your brand, right? And really looking at that. And then the other side of that is if you do find that somebody is upset or something didn't go right, or there's a theme that's happening where things, there's a disconnect in your product or service, and it happens, right? It happens to every business. But what makes the difference is rectifying that problem, right? Reaching out. Sometimes I'll have a horrible experience, and I'll say 0, 0, 0, 0, and nobody says anything, right? Nobody follows up and says, "Oh, I'm sorry you had a bad experience. What happened? How can we make this right for you?" Because what most people don't understand is, when they have an upset customer, they just want to avoid that customer. But what they don't realize is if you can deliver for that customer, give them a solution that they feel good about, that's a loyal customer for life, right? Because they understand, we all understand there's going to be a problem in business, but how do you handle that, right? And what I tell clients is this is the low hanging fruit. I had a client early in my career when I was a business coach, and I had a client who owned a gym. And she was really trying to expand. She was trying to grow, grow that membership, especially in a gym environment. And she was thinking about marketing and sales and all these different things. And I said, great. Well, how many, members do you have now? And she had however many members she had, a few hundred members. And I said, well, how often are you checking in with those members and seeing how their experience is? How is that going for them? And she's like, well, never, right? So we put together a plan where she did what I call customer care calls. And they would just call the members and say, hey, how is this? How is that? What would you like to see? They got so much great information from it. They knew how to improve. They knew exactly what they wanted to improve. And they would ask for referrals. Hey, is there anybody else that you want to work out with? And they got tons of referrals coming in. And within 6 months, we had doubled the membership without spending $1 on marketing, right? So somebody actually had to make those phone calls, right? So you had that in there, but they doubled their membership in 6 months just from taking care of the customers that are already there. So what I would recommend, if you're really like trying to, like, oh my gosh, it's June already. We're supposed to have way more customers by now, right? Go back to the low-hanging fruit. Go back to the customers you already have. And listen, sometimes you're going to get a customer that's saying, oh, well, I'm having a horrible experience. Well, just talk to that person. It could be email or whatever, and say, hey, what could we do to make it better, right? And have those conversations. And then you've earned the right to ask for a referral.
I feel like that is such a great, those customer care calls are such a great low hanging fruit and something that's easy enough for everybody to do and rectify. And also, I would imagine also something that you see quite a lot of, just like this sort of missed opportunity or a step that somebody didn't take. I'm curious, what are some other, besides the customer care calls, what are some other, mistakes that you just see people making kind of in the customer service space all the time, and you're just out there kind of shaking your fist like, not again, like, no, but just something that you're seeing over and over again.
Absolutely. And there is one thing that I see in companies. It doesn't matter if it's a small business or if it's a Fortune 100 company. And I work with these clients every day. And the one thing that shocks me, and it absolutely shocks me, is that they don't have a customer care plan. They don't have a customer service plan, right? So
Yeah.
you'll take a small business, for example, and you'll teach everybody in the room how to make a coffee, how to use a machine, right? Everybody needs to understand how to use the cash register, right? Or the square, or whatever it is. But nobody's teaching them how to treat their customers, right? And so there's no consistency. If you get somebody who's friendly, oh, you'll get friendly service. If you get somebody who's having a bad day, oh, you'll get bad service, right? Or you get somebody who's just there because their cousin hired them. I've seen that too. You're going to get a lower level of service, right? And they don't think about what that's doing for their brand, for their store, right? They're not putting any emphasis on it. And it's not just the small businesses. I'll look at some of the larger companies that I work with. Okay, well, listen, let's start with your mission and your values. What is your mission and values? Well, I don't know. It's on a website somewhere, and everybody pulls out their phone, right? Because those go to die on a website somewhere. Nobody's talking about them. Nobody's wondering if even the way they're treating their customers is in alignment with that, right? We went on a vacation, and my wife had booked this package deal, and it was great. It has the rental car, it's got the flight, it's got the hotel, ground transportation, everything's lined up. And so we went to this rental car company I'd never been to before. And it was pretty sizable, and there's that long line winding like you're at Disneyland waiting for a ride, right? So we're in line, and I'm just kind of looking around, and I look up, and there's about a dozen agents up front, right, that are helping people. I mean, this place was packed. And above the agents, I mean, it was just huge. It was written, miles and miles of smiles. I'm like, what a great.
Oh, we lost him for a second, but hopefully he'll be back. The power of live, everybody. I have no doubt that it was going to be smiles for miles, and I don't know, maybe how they delivered those smiles over the miles. I don't know. But either way, I have been loving all of the questions that are happening in the chat. By the way, I'm seeing them. I'm getting to them slowly but surely, because David obviously has a ton of information to share and a ton to get back to us with. But a few that I wanted to highlight that I just think are really the sort of gold stars is Raymond saying that an empathy-based approach has really been working for him, and hopefully something that he's going to double down on and continue, which I think it's something that I also am going to double down and continue on, Raymond. So we are two peas in the same exact pod. So I'm right there with you. And I also love that phrase of I wish I could, but it's just not possible. But here are the three things that I can offer you. I hope that that is going to be something that is also going to be going in your arsenal to use on clients, customers, coworkers, anyone else that you interact with in your workplace on a day-to-day basis. I know I'm not David, but I also wanted us all to discuss Rachel's question here about end of form feedback sessions and what we can do to gain some clarity from people that we might be working with on an everyday basis of how are we doing, and are we caring for you in a way that you feel seen and heard and appreciated. So I would like to invite everybody in the chat to kind of give their 2 cents. I'll give my 2 cents that I absolutely love feedback forms such as Typeform or Google Survey. Rachel, I think these are fantastic. And as David was saying, not only fantastic just to get that initial information, but also fantastic just sending them, right? Sometimes I'll give an example. I stayed at a hotel not too long ago. Yes, they sent me a form, how did we do? How was our cleaning service? Now, did I fill it out? No, I'm going to be honest. I didn't fill it out, but I appreciated even getting it. I appreciated even the email coming and saying like, how did we do? So sometimes just know that even if you are sending those things, whether you finish a class or a survey or a project or working with a client and you give them that feedback form, like, ta-da, how did we do? Just know, even if they don't fill it out, I mean, hopefully they fill it out, but even if they don't fill it out, just the fact that you are making that effort and making them feel like they have an opportunity to provide feedback or provide you with their thoughts, I think can be really, really powerful and something that others will appreciate, again, even if they don't totally have the time to fill everything out. I think that that can be so, so important. So just something to kind of keep in mind there. But it looks like we can see backstage that David is back. Hey, David.
Hey, I'm back. I'm so sorry. I live in San Diego, which is a big city. Everything you would think would be great. And we've been having problems with our internet. The internet company, and I was with customer service, and they're like, "Oh, we're having outages in your area." So I really apologize for that. So I'm on my phone now. So I really apologize, everybody. But I'm back. I'm back. I'm
You're
here.
back. Okay, we're on the edge of our seat on your rental car company, Smile for Miles.
Yes, yes, miles and miles of smiles. So that's exciting, right? Okay, we're gonna have a great experience. And I looked up at about 12 different agents, and I looked at every single one of them. Do you know how many of them had a smile?
Right.
It's a very
Probably
round
like
number.
zero.
Zero. Nobody had a smile. And so again, it's like, you need to really think about what that customer experience is going to be like, especially if it says smile up there. That should be rule number one. Everybody must smile, especially because it says that above your head, right? So we need a system, a customer service system, so we can have consistency throughout our brand and everybody's on the same page of, hey, what is an excellent customer experience for our brand, right? What does that look like? What does it sound like? In so many companies, the biggest mistake I see is they don't take the time to implement a system like that. So yeah, so that's that story.
Getting that system in place is really important. And I think, for companies that maybe have been around a while, it's something that they probably constantly need to go back to and refresh. But I love Giacomo's point here of what happens if it's a new company? So it's kind of like a relatively new company and they're looking at, new customers, really kind of starting with a blank piece of paper. I guess what are some best actions that you think that they should take to not only gain those new customers, but then also, to your point, keep them happy and referring you to other people?
Yeah, I think it's really important when you're getting new customers to share with the world what it is you believe in, right? And I think Zappos, the online shoe company, they're owned by Amazon now. When they started, their whole motto was delivering happiness, right? And they would talk about it. You could look at their core values, their missions, everybody, it was for the world to see. So if you're a new company starting out, that's where I would start, right? I would start with letting everybody understand what it is you do and why you do it, right? So for me, for example, I believe that we can all make a difference, a positive difference in this world, one customer at a time, one employee at a time, right? And we create this ripple effect. When we treat somebody well, right, and that maybe comes into our business, right, and then they feel good, they go back to their office, they treat somebody nice in their office, that person in the office goes home to their family, treats their family well, and they're happier, right? So we do have the power to create this ripple effect of positivity, right? And this
Yeah.
world could use a little more positivity, couldn't it?
Of course it could.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So I think we all need to think about that, and we can, and so that's my personal mission, right? And so share that with everybody, right? I mean, this is my passion. This is what I get to do, right? And whatever it is you get to do, share that with everybody, and that's going to attract in a lot of times the customers that you want, right? So when I called Zappos once to order, some shoes or whatever, and I got the wrong order, right? So I called them up. And what's interesting is even though they screwed up, I was not upset at all. Why? Because they primed me with, hey, we deliver happiness. I'm not worried. They're going to take care of me. They built their brand on doing that. So if you're a new company and you're letting everybody know, hey, we treat our customers amazing, right? You are the most important part of our business. When something goes wrong, you're going to have a lot more leeway. So I was just kind of cool. I was like, hey, this thing happened. And then they said, hey, well, we're going to give you $25 off your next order. And I wasn't even an upset customer. I was like, I'm kind of thinking like, oh, you don't have to do that, but they had built that brand, right? And that's how they built it. So that's how I felt, right? So that's good for your
Well,
business as well.
I think that's so important. And I love the fact that you bring up, really sharing what it is that you do best and sharing that with the world, because these next couple of questions to me are just like straight up copying your homework. Like we are basically hoping that you share all the things and resources and tips and tricks that you do best to help us. So I'm curious, what is something that you yourself kind of something work related that you've started using or doing lately that you just absolutely love, kind of raving about, telling everybody about? Really, you are becoming that customer advocate for this thing or this product or this service.
Yeah, it's so funny. A lot of people are probably watching us on LinkedIn right now. And the thing that I just can't shut up about, just anybody who will listen, is Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator, if anybody understands what that is, it's a part of LinkedIn that links you with your ideal customer, especially, for somebody like Giacomo, if he's in a new company, right? Who is that ideal client that you want to serve? And you get to choose who that person is. And then you can go out and you can connect with them, right? And you can find out great personalized things, like what are they working on right now? What are they posting about? What's important to them? And, I know this isn't a sales course, but I can tell you, don't blanket spam people in their LinkedIn email boxes, in their LinkedIn boxes. Just connect on something like, hey, look, I know you like educational charities. I donate to educational charities as well. Just something that makes it personalized to them. So there's a salesperson who works in LinkedIn Learning. His name is Rob Humphrey, and he's a great guy. And I think he sold over $200 million worth of online training, right? So this is a guy that I'm like, okay, show me everything you know about Sales Navigator. And it just blew my mind. So that's something that I'm really talking about. And so if you want to make sure that your customers are great, your leads are great, now you've got a great place where you can go do those customer check-ins, right? You can check it. You can even send them a video and just say, hey, how you doing? I just want to check in with you, see how you are. So you can use it part of your CRM as well, and those customer calls. So I love it.
I love that. Okay. Who are some other humans, I guess, besides, I think he's just said his name is Rob?
Yeah,
Something
Rob.
like
Yeah,
that.
Rob Humphrey. Yeah.
Who are some other humans that you really learn a lot from, or whether you follow them on LinkedIn or another social platform that you just really feel like they're providing you a lot of value?
Yes, yeah. So for me, I'm a big believer in energy, right? Like it takes energy to be a business person. It takes energy to be working. It just takes energy to be living in this world. And somebody who gives me a lot of energy is Steve Harvey, right? And so you may have seen him on like Family Feud and, his stand-up comedy, and all that is great. I love it. But what he's doing now as well is the, motivational speaker, right? And nobody wants to be a motivational speaker anymore, right? I'm not a motivational speaker or whatever, But to me, I think what a noble thing to do, right? So I'll listen to Steve Harvey in the morning, and he'll give some great advice. He's got such an amazing story. And he shares this advice of how to get through to the next level, right? Whatever you're trying to do. So that's been very inspiring for me.
Oh, I love that. I'm gonna have to give him a listen. I'm
I'll
curious.
give him a listen. Yeah.
I will. I'm gonna give him a listen for sure. So, for any of us that are also gonna take, like, that's my homework assignment from this. I'm like, I'm gonna go give Steve Harvey a listen when we finish this up. But I'm curious, what is a homework assignment that you would absolutely love for all of us to do? I will also shamelessly say, I think that everybody should give you a follow because you provide a lot of great entertainment. But what is the homework assignment that you think we should all do that will just help us be better in this arena that we can do the rest of the week?
Yes, yes. So my opinion is that you should create a customer service system, right? So sit down with your team, right? Map out a customer journey, like even if it's a retail situation, somebody's walking down the street. Oh, they see our coffee, they see our sign out in front. What do we want them to feel like when they get there, right? I do a lot of work with teams. How do you want your team to feel at the end of a transaction? Right? You want your customer to be happy, but you want your team to be happy as well, right? You don't want them to go through burnout, right? You want them to have a great system that they can do, something that you guys can duplicate. And for me, I don't want it to be like a shameless plug, but
Yeah.
a
Vanna
plug.
White this, David. Vanna White.
I'm going to Vanna White this book, which is very special to me, and it's called Customer Service Success. It's my newest book, and what I love about it is when you go in, there are homework assignments in there, right? So not only do you get the tips and the tricks of, hey, okay, this is how I can put it together. You can customize it for your business, right? And if it's okay, Kim, I would love to offer this for free to your audience. If you're in here listening right now, if you're in here watching, just go to rockstarcustomerservice.com and it'll take you to my website. There'll be a pop-up, there'll be a little thing in there, and you can get the PDF e-version, my gift to your audience, so that they can do that. So that would be the homework assignment, right? And then let me know how it goes. I want to know how it worked for you.
That is amazing because one, we love free stuff, or I love free stuff. And number two, it's a fun homework assignment. So that is brilliant, David. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. My absolute pleasure. My absolute pleasure.
Okay, where can people, what social media platform do you spend the most time on? Where can people keep learning from you, keep getting all of your nuggets of wisdom?
Mostly LinkedIn, but I'm on all the platforms, right? There's lots of videos on YouTube and Coach David Brownlee. And so if you look me up, you can get stuff there, but definitely at LinkedIn. Let's connect. Follow me if you're there, let me know any questions you have. I'm always happy to serve your team. So just let me know.
I love it. Thank you so much, David. Thank you for rolling with the punches.
My pleasure. Yeah, right?
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. And you have a fantastic week. And anybody who's watching out there, have a great week. Go with energy and serve your customers the best you can.
I love it. Thank you guys so much for joining us, especially if you're new here. We hope that you will come back next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and we'll see you then. Bye.
Cheers.